Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to the block of the month. Today is the 14th, and do remember that it's the 14th of every month that you will get the block. Ignore Jackson. He's been a bit of a poo head because he wants my full attention. He's coming back. He's very happy today. He's bouncy. Anyway, so today we'll be making the sweet pea block. Do remember that you're making two, and I'm going to go through the demonstration of just making the block quite simple. It's a beautiful block, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Do remember that you can use scraps for this quilt along if you're not using fat quarters or yardage, just as long as you use the same background color, which is white, or one background color throughout the whole, so that you show up the block formations really nicely. So with that being said, I'm not going to stay long in this intro. I hope everyone is well and having a wonderful time having the quilting or whatever patterns you've bought from me before in the last week or so. I hope you're doing well with any of your quilting that you're doing. So bye for now, happy quilting, and I'll see you in the video. We're going to get started right now. Let's get started on making this beautiful sweet pea block. For those of you who are not taking part in the quilt along, the instructions or the pattern will be in the description box if you would like to get it. And for those of you who are already in the block of the month, the email's already been sent. Okay, so let's get started. It's quite easy block to make, very beginner friendly. Do remember though, I'm kind of easing you in to get into the more advanced blocks. All right, it's going to get a little bit tricky, but nothing that I feel that you cannot handle. Any problems, please email me, or hook me up on Messenger on Facebook, and I would respond to you. All right, but just reach out and don't be angry if something confuses you. Just relax, take a deep breath, and all will be well. It's only quilting. Okay, let's dive into it. Jackson, you can't sit there, mate. I almost tripped and died. Okay, so the sweet pea block is what we're going to make today, and we need two of the blocks. I have my fat quarter here. I've already chosen my colors and I've cut some of them, but I just wanted to cut this in front of you. Just to repeat the fact that you need to cut opposite your selvage. So my selvage is there. Remember, we identified by seeing those lots of tiny holes in the fabric, or sometimes it's slightly frayed at the top, and you can see sometimes it's identified by a white strip along there, or sometimes it's a labeling of the fabric depending on what you're using. So I'm going to cut mine, and I always try to cut my fat quarters when it comes to these block of the months or quilt alongs, so that it maximizes the use of the fat quarter. So for this particular one, I am cutting for two as I go, and I'm just folding it. I have already ironed the fabrics, and I'm going to cut my first size here, and I'm just measuring it roughly to what I need. And I'm just going to cut. So again, I'm folding it together so that I get two cuts at the same time, just to maximize my time as well as using the fabrics correctly. Okay, and I'm cutting opposite the selvage. The selvage is there, right down here I'm cutting from. If you cut on the length grain, it's going to be on a bias cut, and it's going to be stretchy. Excuse me, so just be mindful of that. I try to put these things in so that people are aware, because sometimes people cut on the bias and then they blame me, which I've had happen before. Oh, your pattern is wrong because it's cut on the bias. No, you cut on the bias. So as long as you remember to identify where your selvage is as well as where your bias is, and you're good. So I'm just going to cut what I need here, again cutting two. You can probably hear my bird in the background. It's morning here, so he is telling me he wants to go outside. So I'm going to leave that there. I wouldn't take him outside just yet. It's a little bit cold still. It's a little budgy, and he is loud when he's ready. So again, maximizing the fat quarter properly so as to avoid wastage. And you can see that's the only sort of wastage I've gotten so far from it. So just take your time and maximize it properly, as well as cutting along the grain. So I'm folding it over yet again so I can get 2 cuts. The pattern will be in the description box. No, it will. Yes, it will be in the description box for those of you who are not in the block of the month. But for those of you who are, obviously it's going to be sent to you. If you haven't received it for whatever reason, please let me know immediately. Don't let it go 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Just let me know. All right, it's no problem for me to send you an individual PDF. It's not a problem at all. Okay, right, so let's get started on putting the blocks together. So I have my squares here. As you can see, these are 2 cuts. All right, remember we're making 2 blocks, so I've decided was to just cut all of them at the same time. Our block layout is quite simplified, and I have chosen 4 different colors here just to identify the block, and you need your smaller squares as well. So I'm just going to lay out my block like so, and I'm going to put the blue there. It doesn't really matter where your squares go in terms of the fabric choices, but what's more important is where you put the smaller squares. So this is very simple. It's a 9-patch block, but with a little bit of a stitch and flip method to make it look really beautiful, like a pea. So that again, the block is called Sweet Pea. All right, so that is it there, nice and easy. Now whatever color is next to your white is where you're going to do your stitch and flip. So for example, I have this one here. Before we do that though, the next step is to simply draw a line on it at the back. I'm just using an ordinary pen because we are not going to see this marking. So just draw a line on the back of all of your small squares at this point. And again, the instructions will be quite clear in the pattern for you, so you shouldn't have any issues with it. If you do, a simple email or just checking back to the video will enable you to be clear. All right, so again, I'm putting my pink against my pink, very important. Okay, pink against my pink. Try not to, when you put it down, don't do it like that. Okay, the marking line should not come towards the center of your square, otherwise you're doing it wrong. Okay, make sure that it is on the edge there. Okay, and I say that because when I started, that's one of the mistakes I used to make, and I should just put it in the middle and then sew it and be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So just to identify that. So again, the blue will go here. So remember, each color against each color. So the next one will go here as well, and we're working on the edges. Okay, the blue will go here. I think I'm going to have to put Budgie outside. I know that's not a really original name, but that's what I call him, Budgie. Next one goes here as well. Remember, each color opposite each color or next to. The yellow now goes on the bottom here and on the side there. Alright, so what I will do is take these individually, the white ones, and simply go ahead, sorry, I put the blue on the wrong one, and go ahead and do the stitch and flip on these methods, on these blocks here. So you're stitching on the mark line, and then we're going to cut a 1/4 inch away. Now, let me say this. Sometimes when you stitch on the line and you fold it over, what it does is give you a very, very minute short of the fold over in reference to the white. So if you can stitch just a hair mark, think of a hair grain or how thin it is, and just sew beyond the marked line, it will enable you to then fold it over exactly to the edge of the white fabric. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to do that now, and then we're going to put the block back together and you will see what it looks like. Hopefully you can see how and where I have actually stitched mines on there. So not directly on the line, but as close to as much as possible. So I have chain pieced, okay, one side of all of them. So what I'm going to do now is to separate, and then I'm going to go and turn it on the other side. Okay, and do the same thing and chain piece it on. Make sure though that you use a pin so that you could not get it misplaced. All right, and it, you know, just so that, because there's no sense if you've already lined it up on your cutting table and then to come back at the sewing machine and it's all confused. Okay. Okay, so after sewing everything on using the stitch and flip method, what you need to do now before you start cutting, my advice is to place everything back in its rightful position, just to ensure that you haven't mixed the stitch and flip around, which is easier said than done. Okay, hence the reason why I said to make sure you pin it, all right, so that you don't get into any problems. So once you're happy with the layout the way it was and it's all correct, now is the time to ensure that you trim the extra 2 layers at the back, and you just holding it back, use your scissors and just cut away 1/4 inch. Okay, I have cut mines quite thick, and I'll tell you why. Just in case for some reason you didn't check, you're rushing, you're not concentrating, and you have swapped the colors around on the stitch and flip. All right, so you can easily unpick it and reverse it so that it's on the right side. Okay, so just a little bit of a tip there, but to prevent that, just stitch, flip, place it back in its rightful place, and then once you're happy, you can go ahead and cut everything off. As you can see, it's a very simplistic block, but it looks really lovely. I do like the element that it's very good for a one block wonder. Imagine this block alone in a quilt, how amazing it would look. It looks like a flower pattern once you're finished with it. And so all you need to do once you're done with this stage, don't forget to press it back. I forgot to mention that because once I stitched them, I did put a bit of a stamp of an iron on them. This one is sticking up a little bit. All right, and what you need to do before you trim away these extras here, just make sure that you measure, and you're only measuring just to make sure that sometimes when you do so, the stitch and flip piece might just stick out a little bit, and you can just trim away all of that. I mean, just check that. It's neither here or there, meaning it's not a big deal. It is going to be eaten up in the seam allowance once you have stitched everything together to make the block. All right. I mean, if you don't want to remove this, you can leave it in. It just makes that area a little bit bulky. I mean, and you know, in times past in making other blocks, I have left it in, and it's not a huge deal. I can see a little bit sticking out here from the blue stitching flip, so I'm just going to trim it just to make sure it's equated. Again, you don't have to. So that is it. All right, so we're going to sew this together as a 9 patch, and then you are completed. Give the block a nice press and we will get started. So I will normally, because I don't want to mess it up, I will turn it over and pin, just to ensure that, you know, you don't make an error, because, you know, with these things it's so easy to mix them about. Okay, so all sewn together now. All you need to do is to just give it a good press, which I just did. And I'm going to just use my ruler just to make sure that everything is lined up nice and straight. All the edges are equated and nothing is hanging out. So literally just some really small trimmings, nothing to, you know, do any hard work about. Just make sure you're not trimming the block down. We are just making sure all the edges, notice the small amount that's coming off. Okay, that's it. So I am not trimming the block down, I am just trimming the edges. The block will finish at, and this is the unfinished size, at 12.5. okay, 12.5. It will say finished of 12 in the pattern, but please note that's referring to the completed finished quilt. Okay, so what size it measures once it's in the quilt. All right, but it is a 12.5 at this stage. I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, so those are your blocks. I have done the other one here already, and somehow I've done it. Yeah, you don't have to put the flower or the cornerstones in the same area as I did. You can mix them around and tidy down to you. But yeah, it looks really nice. Just imagine this as a repeated. Look how beautiful it's going to look. Loving this block, loving the simplicity of it also. This will be a beautiful one block wonder, definitely. You can even mix the colors around and move it, or you can line it up the same. Looks amazing, doesn't it? Lovely block, beautiful block. With this quilt along, as much as we are making individual blocks, you are also making one block wonders that you can use in just one quilt. Absolutely gorgeous. I think I will make a quilt out of this one day. All right, guys, well, that's it for now. Like and subscribe for more, and I do hope that you have a smooth time making this like I have. It is nice, simple block, and I hope you enjoy making it, and I will definitely see you for the next block of the month on the 14th of April. All right, guys, bye for now. Happy quilting. Yeah, that's it. Snow pea, no, sweet pea. I don't know why I keep saying snow pea, but it's the sweet pea block. Bye for now, guys. See you in the next one. What's the matter? Why do you keep making so much noise? Huh? And you're quite loud as well for a little bird. You want to go outside? Is that it? You want to go outside? I guess that means yes. Are you happy now? Yes? No? Yes? What do you want now? What's wrong with you now? You done? Okay, let's go inside.